Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. and today I'm reviewing The Wolves from Pandasaurus Games. The Wolves is a 1 to 4 player area control game, takes place in roughly 90 minutes, in which you're trying to upgrade your pack. You're trying to build your pack in this game. This is a game which you can have your own little personal board over here, and it's a tableau building game in the sense that you're going to be upgrading all the actions you can take in this game. The core action system in this game is going to be flipping these terrain tiles in order to try to figure out the actions you can take. So for example, you can flip over tiles with matching terrain, so for example these two over here, and then I could take an action in that associated terrain or having to do with that terrain. Each pack will have their dominant terrain, the one that they are always going to be flipping to that color, and the others all flip over, giving you the opportunity to potentially set up, depending on how and where you flip your tiles, you can have a 3 strength action in your dominant terrain, or alternatively use these terrain tokens to augment to boost up the action that you're taking. In the game, the actions that you're taking are primarily around area control. The game's going to take place in 3 scoring ages in which you're going to score the different regions, and then you're going to get points for a whole bunch of things, primarily for those scoring regions, as well as for how you upgrade your board, the various tokens that you hunt. There's a bunch of points you're going to be getting on your board. We'll walk through those as you go through this, but every single scoring round, where you're going to look at the scoring regions for that round. These two are going to score in the first round, these two are going to score in that round, and these two are going to score in the third round. And you're going to be tracking when you score based on the tokens that are being added to the Moonlight track. As you do different things in the game, as you upgrade your dens, as you go ahead and gather pack wolves, as you dominate other players' wolves, you're going to be adding those tokens to the Moonlight board, and as tokens hit the various scoring regions, depending on the player count, little listed over there, as they hit those regions, you're going to go ahead and trigger a scoring for whoever has the most area control around those tokens. So you're trying to do 2 things in the game. You're trying to generally build up your tableau so you have more efficient, quicker, better actions. You're trying to position yourself so that you score in the regions in which you're going to be scoring when your scoring is going to be occurring. Trying to time out, thinking through not just the next scoring phase, but how you're going to relocate, what are you going to do. Which brings us to the 5 actions you're taking in the game, which the 5 actions are all listed on your little player aid over here, the first of which is moving. When you move, you're going to flip over a destination tile, flip over one of the destination terrain, just a single one is all you need, and you're going to move a number of wolves equal to your pack spread. Your pack spread is this attribute over here, and as you build your dens, you are slowly upgrading the actions to become more powerful as well as getting extra points. So you can move wolves equal to your pack spread, and you can move them at distance equal to your wolf speed. So you're trying to be mindful of both of those as you build out your dens in order to try to build up your attributes to move more wolves further and faster. Additionally, you're going to be able to have, there's a few other movement rules. This is limited to 2 per space. You're limited to 2 tokens per hex. You can move through different things and not move onto other things, but that's all listed on your player aid. From there, the second action is going to be building a den. When you build a den, you flip 2 tiles of the target terrain. 2 tiles of the target terrain, you need to build a den next to your Alpha Wolf. You're going to have a few Alpha Wolves in the game. You start the game with some, but you also have some on your player board that you can upgrade. And your Alpha Wolves are often the determining driving factor for a bunch of the actions you can do, including building a den. When you build a den, you flip over, like I said already, you grab 2 terrain tiles of that type. So for example, let's say we have these over here. You can go ahead and say, look, I'm going to go ahead and flip over both of these. You're going to go look next to one of your Alpha Wolves. So I actually don't really have one next to that. Let's move this one over here. You flip over those, and you go ahead and build a den, upgrading one of your tableau spots and pulling a den out, which both upgrades your board as well as gives you area control on the board. That's going to be the building a den action. That takes 2 of your terrain tiles. Then you have building a lair. Building a lair is how you upgrade your dens. You're going to be taking your dens, putting it onto the Moonlight board so that it's going to push forward towards that scoring, but it's going to upgrade the dens, which is the lairs. It's going to upgrade the den into a lair, which is also helpful because the lairs are both worth a chunk of points. They're also going to give you those terrain benefit tiles, which will help you over here, but also they can't be removed from the board for any reason, which makes them particularly useful for that area control aspect of the game. When you take that action, that's going to be the build there action. Again, it has to be next to Alpha Wolf, but more importantly, it also has to be next to water on the board. You have to look for the water and place it next to water. You can only have 1 per region, 1 allowed per region as you upgrade a den into a lair, moving the den onto the Moonlight board. Next up, we have the action Howl. Howl is going to be how you gather more wolves into the game, or one of the ways that you gather more wolves. You see, the game is going to start with a whole bunch of these lone wolves on the board, and those can be converted into your own wolves using the Howl action, where the Alpha Wolf, again, those Alpha Wolves driving everything, are going to convert a single lone wolf into your own pack wolf by taking it off this board over here, and you're going to go do it within the Howl range of your wolf. So you're going to look over here, and again, these can be upgraded slowly but surely up to a range of 4, and you're going to be upgrading your actions in order to be able to turn a lone wolf into one of your wolves, and then take it from this board with eventually at the 3rd and 7th spot over there, you're also 3rd and 6th spot, I should say, the 3rd and 6th spot, you're going to be able to move Alpha Wolves into play, not just regular wolves, upgrading not just the amount of wolves and area control control you have on the board, but in fact the actual wolves, the alpha wolves themselves, which drive all the actions. And then the last action, which requires 3 of a terrain type, which is where you have to be careful here, because in the beginning of the game, the only area which you could dominates the 5th action. Dominate is where you can take your opponent's pieces and turn it into your own, putting your opponent's piece onto the Moonlight board. That's going to be very, very helpful in terms of really shifting the area control of the game. But when you dominate, you need to have 3 terrain types of the target terrain. So dominating requires you to be able to use your alpha wolf to convert an opponent's wolf within howl range, but you have to have 3 of the terrain, which is generally pretty hard to do until you start gathering these extra tokens, which, like I said already, you'll get when you upgrade your lairs. You'll also get them depending on the edges of the tracks as you upgrade your actions. Once you move these 2, you'll get another one of those terrain types, and you want to use those when situationally advantageous to do so to really drive your area control on board. And that's the game. You're taking actions, going around and around, taking actions every single turn, trying to figure out the actions you can take to optimize your board position, eventually driving towards the scoring rounds of the game, at which point you'll score at the end of the game for both the tokens, the area control you have, which is a chunk of points, but not all the points, not by a long shot. You're also going to get a chunk of points for various regions of the board that your own personal player board you upgraded. You can see over here the bottom spots of every one of these have 3 and 7 points. Every single lair has 5, 10, 15, and 20 points. You get a chunk of points for doing that. Your wolves, as you upgrade them, will give you a ton of points over there as well. Although I should actually clarify, for all of these, it's the highest number. When I was going over these over here, it's not 3 plus 7. It's always going to be the 7 or the 20, just the highest number of those, just to make sure we're clear on that. And then lastly, as far as prey, how do you get prey? Prey are going to be these tokens over here, and you're trying to hunt unique prey in the game. The way to do so is at the end of an action, if you have 3 wolves surrounding a prey, you simply take that prey off the board. It'll give you a bonus action token as well. You can see over here, you'll get these bonus action tokens, but also it's going to contribute, if it's unique prey, it's going to contribute towards your potential 25 points for gathering unique prey. And that is the wolves. You're trying to take actions every single round, trying to optimize, trying to be mindful of your score, trying to be mindful of area control, and doing so more efficiently than the other players before the timer runs out. Which brings us to the review, starting off with ease of play. Rulebook is excellent, by the way. The rulebook in this game is completely, it's a great rulebook. Everything's very, very clear as we go through it. Every action has a full page, but it's very, very full of iconography, full of pictures, very low on text. Everything in this game, both the player aids and the rulebook, are incredibly clear, making it very easy to dive into. Game takes around 60 to 90 minutes. I think 9 minutes for the first few plays, but you can get it down to closer to 60 as you're going through it. Table space is not that much. The map does change based on player count, but overall, a very accessible game. As far as what I don't like, and can see others not liking, starting off with what I like, the production quality and the art over here in general is great. It makes sense. This is a Pandasaurus game. They generally put out very solid stuff, and overall, I love the aesthetic of this game. More importantly, though, because looks are just looks, I love the tableau building element of the game, too. The fact that you're upgrading your player board, trying to figure out where to figure out your competitive advantage. Do you want more howl range so your single alpha wolves can really dominate the map from different areas? Do you want to focus on simply getting as many dens out as possible quickly to upgrade everything and get that area control in place? Does it help you to gather more wolves quickly, to get the lairs onto the board? Do you want to focus on the prey or the area control? Do you want to give up those early round points and just completely ignore them to set yourself up for the mid to late game scoring? There's a lot of things you're doing in this game as far as how to upgrade your tableau, what is going to serve you better in the long run, and they all contribute to extra tokens, to extra range, extra powerful abilities, and then as well as that 2 points at the end of the game, and trying to figure out how to upgrade that, which scoring options to pursue is the meat of this engine. It's the meat of the game, is trying to figure out where to choose your actions in a way that will serve you best in it. And the game timer works nicely as well, having that aspect that as you do things in the game, as you upgrade your dens, as you take out the lone wolves, as you convert your opponent's wolves, those all move to this Moonlight track, slowly pushing forward the scoring aspect of the game. You're constantly trying to be mindful of getting your actions in place while also watching that timer slowly tick down around you while you try to optimize your engine. As far as things I don't like in the game, first of all, is too many things often seem achievable at any point. It's rare in this game that an action wasn't something that you can get to. The dominate action is the hardest one. Dominating does take a little bit more energy because you need 3 terrain tiles flipped, but for the most part, it wasn't that hard to always be doing something in your favor, and figuring out which thing is more in your favor felt a little bit too ambient. I would say in general, my biggest complaint against the wolves is you can kind of do everything, and it wasn't really it wasn't really clear what made the most sense to do. It all seemed good. And granted, many games have that, and part of the puzzle is trying to figure out where you can optimize your points forward. But in the Wolves, I never got that sense. Across multiple plays, I never really got a strong sense of this is the pathway, or I should try to combine this or this. It was kind of like everything's good and everything will help me, and eventually I'll move towards the end game and get a few extra points this way or that way. I think, and it's a weird complaint. I'll grant you it's a weird complaint. There are many games where I love seeing that pathway of how to combine and mix things in a way that gives you that game. For me, the Wolves always felt a little bit more ambient in what I was doing, and I never felt a strong sense of accomplishment in figuring out how to get an action done, except for Dominate. Dominate is the one where I often try to, get a few more dominations in, and the combinations of tokens and board situation, those all helped. Everything else kind of just felt like, oh, I'll do this, you'll do that, you'll get in my way, you'll do this, and again, I recognize that as a complaint that I can apply to other games where I don't, but in the Wolves, I very much felt that sense of ambience. It's very hard to get a sense of where you'll be hit by someone in what point, because everything is like, if you have a Wolf with Howl Range 4, you're just going to get hit at some point. You just got to figure out where and how and when and just deal with those situations. And so, yeah, it's a weird complaint, but everything works, but also everything works a little too easily. As far as I can see others not liking, first of all, this is a game where you're going to be... It's a game that's mean. It's a game where you're getting in each other's faces, both in the area control itself, as well as in the converting of others' regions. It's a game which you're constantly trying to take things from others while you build up your tableau. If you don't like that aspect of the game, well, this does have that aspect. And then secondly, for a game with area control as the primary mechanism, a lot of your points don't actually come from area control. You'll get points from area control, don't get me wrong, and if you really specialize, you'll get a lot of points, but you'll often get a lot more points from your tableau building, kind of making this entire board puzzle, which feels like it should be more central to the game. It's a little bit pulled back, and you get points from it, it matters, but it isn't the biggest source of points, or at least it wasn't for us. As far as final thoughts on the Wolves, overall this game is a tough one for me. It's a really tough one because my biggest complaint is that sense of ambience around everything just kind of working. And it's one that I recognize that it's a complaint I could apply to other games, and yet I often don't, and so I don't know exactly where this one is for me. Overall, I enjoy this. I've enjoyed every play of it. I've had fun with it. It's a solid game, but it's one that despite the tableau building, I never got a strong sense of accomplishment around what I was trying to do. I just did stuff and then played the game, and I won some games, lost some other games. I never felt overly committed to what I was doing. I never felt attached to the engine and the tableau that I was building for whatever reason, and I don't have a strong contender as to why that is. I think just everything was a little too easy to accomplish, and therefore never felt a strong reward for what I was doing in the game. For me, it's mechanically sound, it works, it's got great production value, I do enjoy it, but it didn't hit home in a way that many other games do. For me, it's a 3.5 out of 5. I enjoyed it, it's a solid game, I can recommend it with a weird ambientness attached to it at the same time. If you're looking for game recommendations for other experiences, first of all, Scythe. Scythe very much has that tableau building mechanism, but with a lot more of a sense of accomplishment as far as what you're doing, and a lot more struggle and work put into, well, if I do this, then this, then this, then I can do that action. I think Scythe is a bigger, more, well, a lot more going on in the game, but it has a lot of that tableau building aspects that you're going to see in the Wolves. And then secondly, Great Plains. If you're looking for a cutesy, smaller area control, where the area control is very much in your face, a Great Plains is a 2-player only area control game that actually looks very similar to this thematically, visually, or whatnot, but overall, very solid, straight area control, no tableau building, just getting in each other's faces and taking over each other on a little hexagonal map. In any case, and until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you found this video useful, and as always, I hope you have a good one.